So, let's start. First, housekeeping. In case this is your first time joining us, this session is being recorded and it will be sent out within 48 hours after we are done. If you have questions, please use the Q&A box. And at about the 45-minute mark, I will flip on my camera, blink the lights for LuAnn, and we'll start diving into those questions. Next, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. So this topic is leading your firm through the COVID-19 crisis, hosted by none other than LuAnn Nigara, and it is brought to us by Monogram. So this is an unprecedented time, which cannot be compared to anything before it. And there are some basic principles that you can use to manage your business through this economic crisis. LuAnn is going to share her list of moves that you should make to maximize your chance of mitigating this challenging business climate. Miss LuAnn Nigara, I get to do your bio. She is a force to be reckoned with. She's a true design industry leader and influencer. She is the host of a well-designed business. She is the co-owner of WindowWorks. She is a public speaker, and she is an author of 2 best-selling books. I summarized it because I was like, oh, otherwise I can talk about her for 2 hours, which I could do. And with that, I'm going to flip over and play a little message from our gracious sponsor, Monogram.
Luxury appliances are the sum of many details. It's here where ideas come to life and conventions are broken. Elegance is found where you least expect it.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Look at that. Let's start again. How about now?
You have my website up.
Appliances are the sum of
Let's try again. That's why it's easy.
Great. Monogram. Boom.
Monogram. Here's more about LuAnn. Okay, here we go. No, don't play before. Just share.
There it is.
the appliances are the sum of many details. It's here where ideas come to life and conventions are broken. Elegance is found where you least expect it. Openings inspire awe. Materials harness strength and beauty. Through passion and precision, we are redefining the world of luxury appliances. One detail at a time. We elevate everything. Monogram.
Okay,
All righty.
where's your video? Let's get you back on.
Do I do it or you?
I think I can ask you to start your video.
There we go. There we
She's
go.
back. I'm gonna go. I will see
All
you.
righty. Thank you, lady.
You're welcome.
All righty. So I've started every session by this, and I don't want anybody to underestimate how grateful I am to Sarah Daniele and her entire team for putting all of this together for us. It was not an easy undertaking to do this, and so I think it's awesome that they did it. And again, to the shout out to all of the sponsors. Monogram is sponsoring this particular session, but we have had you know, a whole host of sponsors all week, and we are grateful to all of them. Okay, so let's have a little chat, right? There's a lot to be said about what's happening in the business climate right now. And it was, it's funny because I put together a presentation a week ago, and 2 days ago, I looked at it and I went, so it's so much is changing every single day. And there's parts of it in the way that we're going to handle this that are the same. But I've now focused on 3 areas that I think that we need to think about. And the first is, the problem, mitigating the losses, protecting and preserving our businesses, okay? And the second is, so it's the steps that fall under the umbrella of protection and preserve, okay? And then it's the steps that fall under the umbrella of focusing on sales and marketing. And then finally, I feel like there is a component now that has to be addressed as looking inward, and looking inward both at our business and at ourselves, okay? And then finally, the component of gratitude. And so let's take these 3 areas. From a very practical standpoint, mitigating loss and protecting and preserving your business it's truly a list of practical strategies to do. It's not even going to be possible for me to actually go through them in detail and list every single one of them for you. However, I do suggest that you do reach out to your inner circle. You know that if you've read my first book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, that I believe that you need your dream team. And this is why. It's so funny because in the first book, if you have read the first book and you have been in business and your business has been, mostly healthy and happy and everything else, I have to believe that you probably, many of the things in that book, you thought, okay. But now that we're in crisis, I would like you to go back and rethink about it. So when I said in the very beginning to know your mission and your core values, that's even stronger now. Why are you in business? What do you do? Who do you do it for? And how do you serve them? Because you need to be so clear on that so that you can be laser focused in crisis, okay? Then the second thing I said was you needed a dream team. You needed your CPA, your lawyer, your mentors, your coaches, your peer collaborators, okay? We had that awesome panel the other day where we had the mentor and mentee relationships and the peer collaboration relationships. These are, when business is happy-go-lucky, they seem like extra, they seem like fluff, but they're critical now, aren't they? Because don't you need to reach out and ask somebody something? Don't you need to reach out and just say, I'm scared to death. How are you doing today? And how about some days the person reaches out and they're scared, but you're having an okay day. So you cannot underestimate your dream team, all right? So when the reason that I went down that road is because so much of what you have to do to mitigate loss now and to preserve and protect your business, you really do have to do from an informed standpoint. This is not, things that you do being half aware of how to do them. All right. So the number one thing is that cash flow is king. You must get a handle on your cash flow. I'm just hesitating because some of this information, if you are an entrepreneur, a business owner out there, and you've got 2 or 3 employees or more, you've got a rented studio space, a brick and mortar, whatever it is, then there's layers of this conversation that are even more important to you. Okay. But even as a solo, you should understand where you are, even if you don't have overhead, like great overhead with rent and so forth like that. Okay. But so cash flow is king. Get the handle on that. And it occurred to me as I was thinking about this conversation with you today, that we did the episode with Kim Merlitti. It was episode 442, I want to say 442. And the episode was how to know your cash on hand. So I'm not going to sit here and teach you 45 minutes of how to figure out your cash on hand, because number one, let's be serious, I'm not the expert at it, but Kim is. Okay. So I would say if you don't know how to evaluate that, go start with that episode. And then secondly, go to your CPA, go to the people that you trust in your finance world if you really don't understand how to analyze this. And then keep in mind that you have the resources of the podcast. We have Michelle Williams and Kimber Liddy if you absolutely have no one to help you figure this out, okay? So get a handle on your cash on hand, all right? The next thing is I want you to also review any money owed to you. If you have any clients with outstanding money and you have finished the project, you must go collect that money. And of course, you're going to do it with care. You're going to do it with respect. You're going to do it with tact. But if you have finished the project, you need to go get that money. This is not the time to be polite as far as, oh, well, I probably shouldn't. No, this is survival, right? This is you are needing to keep your business alive. And so do not underestimate that. Do not underestimate. Do not think that you don't have the right to do it. That's it. If you have completed the work, it is your right to go and say, I'm going to need you to pay this. I would love for you to pay it. Whatever the circumstances, whatever the language is, but go get the money that you have on the street. That's how we say it. What kind of money? What's the money on the street? Let's bring it in. Okay. What I want you to also do is reach out to your vendors. This is the time to reach out to any vendors, any tradespeople that you might owe money to, right? And if you need to switch from your terms, get them from 30 days to 60, get them from 60 to 75, work out a payment plan. Do not hesitate to do this at this point either, all right? I don't want you to leave anybody hanging. I definitely do not want you to leave anybody hanging. But I also want you to, with the advice of whoever you go to for your financial advice, figure out, that's why we want to know our cash on hand. We want to know our projection. We want to know what's happening so that if we need to ask for extension on terms, then you need to do it. Like, don't hesitate to do it. Don't think, what I don't want you to do is think, oh, I probably should do that in a couple of months, or maybe I can wait. The time to ask is now, right? There is a sign that sits on my desk that says, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining, okay? So there's clouds on that sun right now, but it's not pouring rain. And so the time to go and set up these arrangements and ask for these things is now, when it's just cloudy, because you come to the table without hysteria, without without something to negotiate with, frankly. Right? In 5 or 6 months, if gosh, God forbid, you have depleted your resources, now there's nothing to negotiate. You have no ability to say, I owe you this amount of money. Can I switch it to terms that we can both agree on so that I can keep my business open? Because understand, there isn't a vendor on the planet that wants you to go out of business, because if you go out of business, then they have no option, they have no ability to get any of the balance due. So everybody in this scenario is motivated to make a great deal that's a win-win, all right? And if you happen to have debt, you need to start to look at how you are going to spread that out or how you are going to manage it, all right? All right. You need to go through your expenses with a fine-tooth comb. I did say some of these beginning tips I did say on the podcast a few weeks ago, so hopefully many of you have already done it. But I also shared, that was episode 519, and I shared with you, how I came to know these things and how I came to understand these things and be able to write them in that first book. It's because in the first recession that WindowWorks went through in the early 90s, we almost crumbled. We literally almost lost our business because these steps that I'm talking to you about, some of them we took right away, but some of them we said, oh, we don't need to do that yet. It'll be fine. We can wait. We can this. And it's no. These are the things that the people who survive this are doing now. And I just sounded like really like, but I mean it. I've had a dozen conversations in the last 2 weeks with business owners that have businesses anywhere from $500,000 a year gross revenue to $10 and $12 million a year gross revenue. And 2-1, every single one is taking these steps now. So if you have been thinking, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, I'm telling you, you should. Okay. The other thing is that I hope, and again, it was in the first book, is that you have a line of credit. Even if you've never needed it before, because this is when you might need it. And this is exactly why you have a line of credit for the rainy day when the roof needs to be fixed. Okay. So maybe you don't have a line of credit. Maybe you do. If you've got credit cards, now is the time. Now is the time to go and talk to those institutions about those terms. Can you get approved for more credit? Can you get a larger line of credit? Can you get approved for more credit on your credit cards? Do not confuse this. I'm not suggesting that you are going to frivolously use your credit cards, but I'm suggesting maybe 2, 3, or 4, or 5, 6 months from now, having some room on a credit card might be the difference between getting to the end of the month or not. That's the truth of it. So what I'm talking about is it's cloudy and get ready. That's what I'm talking about. So these are some of the things. Go to your bank or go to your credit institutions, get your ducks lined up in a row. And again, in that book, if you remember, I said to you, if you're a brand new business, even though you might be working from home and you don't have any overhead or capital, ask your banker for credit. And I shared it recently on a podcast. I just took LuAnn Nigara Inc. and separated from WindowWorks in the beginning of this year. And I set up the business and we incorporated it and everything else. And I set up my business banking account and I set up my business credit card account. And I said to them, I want a line of credit. And he's like, oh, how much do you want? I said, I want 100K. I mean, he literally, because I had been the 4th or 5th conversation, he knew my business model. And he's like, why do you need 100K? I said, I want it. I just want it. And the thing is, he and ultimately said to me, he goes, well, based on everything, I could give you, 20K without even asking anybody. I said, and how do we get 100K? And he said, well, we'd have to do a form and fill it out. We'd have to ask. And I'm like, then go ahead and ask. Okay. I didn't need 100K, but the point is that I wanted a line of credit in case I needed it. Okay. So I want you to go evaluate where you can get liquid money if you need it. All right. The other thing is to really consider is your owner's pay cuts. If you have a firm of multiple employees, then, I mean, we took pay cuts as owners 3 weeks ago. So I would say if you haven't done it by now, I would do it. That's what I would do. 10, 20, 30, 40%, whatever you can afford to do. And also, quite frankly, whatever you need to do based on the projections and the analysis that you have come to with the help of your CPA or your financial advisor, okay? But this is the time for the hard decisions. This is the time. Look, it's your company. If in 3 weeks this has all been, Stuart Little, the chick, the sky is falling, you can give yourself your money back. But, anybody that I have talked to in the last several weeks that is running a business has taken an owner pay cut. All right. And then it's time to look at the next level is to look at employee pay cuts and laying off and asking employees to go on unemployment. Again, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do as a business owner. I have to tell you, you think having hard conversations with clients is difficult. You think being in a pickle or a jam with a vendor or a trade who doesn't seem to have your back and won't step in and do the right thing for you or the client, you think that's hard. But if you have never experienced laying off an employee yet, be prepared, because that is probably, I think it's the single hardest thing that I've ever experienced as a business owner, is to look at an employee that you probably have come to love. In our case, when it's happened, it was the fact of it. But if nothing else, that you recognize the value that they bring to your company, and to have to look at them and say, This is the end of the line. So this is why I'm asking you on the top to do all those other things, because this will be one of the final things that you may have to do. But if it is what you have to do, you have to do it, because this is survival, right? And then finally, avail yourself of all of the grants, the relief packages, the stimulus packages, whatever it is. There is so much out there. And for us at WindowWorks, we are applying for everything that is appropriate. And if we don't need it, we will pay it back. It's as simple as that. But if we need it, we've got it. And so we haven't received it yet. But what I'm saying is, do not do that. Okay. And I will tell you that my friend Kate O'Hara, who is the CEO of O'Hara Interiors, she and I were talking on Monday after our panel discussion that we had on 19 Hours on Monday. And we had a little chat afterwards. And she said, I am just researching like crazy, and I am reading everything I can on the different levels of grants and packages and what's available. And I said, my goodness, what a valuable thing, a resource that your whole team is taking advantage of. And you know what she did? She shared it with me. So I have it, and she made a list of really good websites to get good information about the different grants and about the different packages that are available to us as small business owners. And then she also put a list of grants that are available. So these are not loans that need to be repaid. These are companies and organizations that are putting grants out there for small businesses. So somehow, some way we'll share that with you. I don't know how to do that technically right now, but you will want to thank Kate O'Hara at O'Hara Interiors for that. Okay, so these are all the cold hard facts about getting real with your finances. And that's really the gist of this section of it, is get very real with your finances. Do not have your head in the sand. You know what I said to you on episode 519, don't overreact, but don't not act. Okay. So, and I cannot stress for you enough how, thinking back to the early 90s, that was the number one mistake that we made. That both Vin and I, Billy less so, but both Vin and I are very, all three of us are optimists, okay? But Vin and I are very comfortable with risk. And we're very comfortable with this feeling of, I got this, we can do this, we can make this happen. And so it was almost like, what they say, it was our Achilles heel, right? Because we had such a feeling of, oh no, we're just gonna plug through, it'll be fine. We could do this, we'll just sell something else, we'll just do something else, it'll be fine. And it just took us by surprise that sometimes things aren't fine. And you need to get your ducks in a row quick, fast, early, and definitively, so that then you can kick in that, that super go-getter, mentality to make the things happen. Okay. So, but you need some help with it, right? Maybe you do. All I'm saying is, if you do, go get the help. All right. The advice. All right. The next phase of this is focus on sales and marketing. This is critical. You cannot not do this. If you were just in the presentation a few minutes ago, last hour, and with the rock star women that we had there, Toby Fairley said that the one thing that she really feels is one of her superpowers is focusing on the marketing and focusing on sales and driving it in. And this is something that she does every single day. And if you have neglected this, if you have always relied on referrals, if you have always just, somebody will tell somebody who will tell somebody, this is the time to look in the mirror. You must put yourself out there. And the thing about what it is I want you to think about solving problems. That's always how we attract our client to us, is because we empathize, we figure out what the problem is, and then we create the solution for it, right? So that's business 101. That's we've always done. But think about now, what are the particular problems that your clients are going through? And the way to come to that is, guess what? They're human beings, and so are you. And so to some extent, we have this shared experience happening and with being in shelter in place, right? So if you are working from home and you are the CEO of your company, and even if like think about how many of our colleagues are homeschooling while they're trying to run their business at home, right? I mean, I've heard people say simple things as, I have 3 kids and we have 1 home computer, because before that, each kid was only home X amount of hours a day, and they didn't really get computer time during the weekend. On the weekend, we rationed their time, whatever the thing was. So the thing is, think about very closely, what are the problems that you are experiencing with the way you are living through the COVID-19 crisis? So you could be a solo. You could be a single person. You could be a single person and a solopreneur. So are you experiencing loneliness? Are you experiencing a little stir craziness because there's no human beings? What could you as an interior designer do to alleviate that? I don't know, do a weekly Facebook Live, right? Because think about that. Somebody that really is in because they're not married, they're not in a partnership, they don't have kids, they would really think that that's amazing if their hobby is design, they're a design enthusiast, right? So take it to, you're married, you and your spouse both have jobs, you're both working from home, and you're homeschooling kids. Is there a workspace set up? How could you help someone create a workspace where there wasn't one before? If anybody can do it, it's you, right? So is it a pop-down desk that they put on their wall? Can you be the one to come up with that solution? And the thing is, if you go to your existing client base and you reach out to them and you say, pick up the phone and say, hey, how are you? What's going on? Just talk like a human being. And then they might say, how's it going working from home? Oh my goodness. Everybody's fighting for the kitchen table. I got kids homeschooling. My husband's trying to work at the table. I'm trying to work at the table. This is insanity. And if you're like, you know what? Over, in that little nook in your guest bedroom, I'll tell you what, let me send you a link. I've got a desk that I think that would work. It'll roll it, whatever it is. Okay. Think out of the box, but really think internally, what am I experiencing? If you're having a hard time finding a place to work, then your clients are probably too. All right. And the other thing I want to say to you about that, I'll get to that in a minute. So figure out ways that you can solve the problems that they are experiencing now. And that's in addition to the obvious, which is any projects that you had coming up in the pipeline that you might be able to continue to push along and get it to a point until it requires you to physically be in their home. So if you're just about to start, a room renovation or something, well, I mean, if you've got the measurements, and even if you have the rough measurements, you have the client take the rough measurements, you can start to work the floor plans. You can start to, source the pieces, the furniture, the lighting, all of that stuff. And the thing is that, again, if you think about the clients that you have and the ones that you probably know the ones that would really be just fine with moving the project along during this time. And the ones that might be a little bit more sensitive and not really want to. But the point is that there are people that are happy to keep doing things now, that have the money, have the finances, and some have the time. And, especially if your demographic, your ideal client is a working two working career couple, or even just a single working person, even, working, like how much more do you get done when you work from home? Like an 8-hour day that gets interrupted by 50 phone calls and 3,000 people, all of a sudden you get that 8 hours done in 4 hours. So yeah, maybe they would go on a Zoom call and help them move the project along. And my point is, you have permission to do that. You have permission to start that conversation, because this is the life or death of your business. You're fighting for its survival right now. Don't be embarrassed to do that. You just always do it with respect, right? That's the thing. Okay. So it's focusing, being creative, empathizing, filtering through yourself as a human being. What are the challenges that you've had during this crisis? And putting that creative, amazing brain that you have on this and coming out with something that could help your potential consumer, okay? Then the final thing is to look inward. And I want you to look both inward at your business and inward at yourself as a human being. So to look inward at your business, what this means in my mind is this is a good time for you to really make sure that you do have your systems locked down, that you really do. We had that session an hour ago with those really brilliant ladies, Tracy Connell, Monica Wilcox, Toby Fairley, and Sandra Funk. If you missed the session, make sure to watch it in replay, because every single one of them described like how insanely detailed their systems are, and that they are in writing, that they exist in Asana, they exist in a Google Drive, they exist in Excel spreadsheets. They are real. You know what I say? That if you do your thing every single day, but you don't have it in a duplicatable process, then you actually don't have a business, you have a you, okay? And if your only desire is to have a you, great. But if you're just, I got to believe that if you're here, your desire is to have a business. And so if you have not had the time, because it's a real thing, when the world is spinning at the pace that it spins at, and we're at job sites, and we're doing floor plans, and we're doing all the things that you do, it is hard to put the brakes on and do this. I've spent the better part of 4 years asking successful interior designers, how have they put that in their work day? How have they put the brakes on to create their systems? You have an opportunity now to do it, okay? So look inward at your business. And if it needs some work, this is the time to do it. And the other thing I would say in looking inward at your business is your business what you want it to be? Because this is the time to reinvent it. This is the time to reinvent it. This is like the gabillionth webinar I've done in the last 2 weeks. And in every one, a question has come to me that says, from different people, from different audiences, I was about to start my business. Should I still do it? One person asked, I was about to rebrand. Should I still do it? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. What better time to start a business when the world is slow, when business is slow, because you can really set the foundation. Again, referencing the last panel, Monica Wilcox, I asked each of these really brilliant women, what would they tell their 5-year-old business self, their business self at the 5-year mark? And Monica said, I would tell myself that to stop then and get everything in place, in process, and systemized, and not to keep plugging through and ignore that part of it. So if you are just launching now, honestly, you're in a better position than the rest of us that have a big ship that we have to keep afloat. So yeah, lean in, take the time to get it all down pat. And if you're rebranding, better yet, come out new. But I want those of you that are in business for many years to just do the little self-check on the business. Am I running the kind of business that makes me happy, that I'm passionate about? If you coach with me, always on a questionnaire that you get from me before we have our first session is, if we could wave a magic wand, what would your business look like? So this is what I want you to do. Now, wave that magic wand. Pretend that there is absolutely no obstacle. There is no obstacle in money. There is no obstacle in time. There is no obstacle in skill set, personal skill set. There is no obstacle in employees. There is no obstacles whatsoever. You just get to say to the genie, boom, this is what I want. And if that answer that you come up with is not the business you're running, I think this is a time to give some careful consideration. How can you make a shift to, over the next several months and possibly year, move your business closer to your magic wand version of your business? Okay, because this is a time for the space, the thinking, the creating, the planning, the letting your mind relax and lean into it. Okay, and if you were on that track already, if you do that exercise and you're just like, yeah, like everything about where I'm at is that I just need more time, I need more resources, I need more information, I need more knowledge, I need more, homies, I need more buddies, then keep going, keep creating it, keep expecting to be able to do what you want to do. Okay. And then the last and final thing that I want you to do is look inward. So a little bit of that is looking inward, right? But it's in relation to your business. I want you to look inward as a human being too. And just, I want you to look inward and have a real moment with yourself and say, how am I processing this? And, my Aunt Honey is an amazing lady. You have heard me talk about her and my mother many times. And if you came to LuAnn Live last year, you had the opportunity to meet these ladies. And you have met my cousin Eileen. This is her mom. And my Aunt Honey taught me a mechanism when I was in one of the most difficult periods of my life. It is the single most challenging thing I've ever gone through in my life. And it wasn't the recession, which I thought was the most challenging thing I ever went through. And she said to me, Lou, what's your lesson here? What's your lesson? And she said it to me at the very beginning of this challenging crisis. So I was nowhere near through it. I had 3 months more before I was going to come out the other side of this really, truly life challenging event. I was only about 5 days into it. And I remember like saying to her, I don't know. I'm just like so frightened. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure. And she just said, you don't have to have an answer for it now, but I want you to be listening for it. And so I want you to do that because each one of us is going to have a lesson in this. And the lesson could be a business lesson. The lesson could be a lesson in our personal life. The lesson could be in our, it could be anything. It could be the way you parent your kids. It could be the way you're in a relationship with your husband or wife. It could be the way you have a relationship with your grandchildren or your parents. It could be the way you have a relationship with your employees. It could be your philosophy on business. It could be your direction in business. It could be tiny. It could be the way you run your schedule every day. I don't know what it is, but my point is that it helped me and that I hope that it will help you, because whenever I'm going through something really hard, I literally just will say, where's your lesson here? Where's your lesson here? And what I find is it just shifts my mind from the fear to something, I'll use the word proactive, something proactive that I can do, that I can be mentally seeking, and I can, instead of pushing away the fear and pushing away the outside circumstances, it gives me this almost detached ability. Like I almost feel like, okay, just sit here. And so if you are frightened now, if you are not sure if you're going to come through it, if you have eyeballs looking at you, employees looking at you, if you have, debtors looking at you, if you have, children looking at you, and you're just like, what is going on? I just offer it as possibly a mechanism that might help you to just process it and cope. Okay. And so look for your lesson. And then the final thing that I want to share with you is find something to be grateful for. Find something to be grateful for. Every day there is something to be grateful for. It could be an employee that comes up with an amazing idea for a new way to do business. It could be a spouse who just like does bath time for your kid that night without being asked. It could be, the healthcare workers that are on the front line taking care of so many people that are literally succumbing. Okay. So find something, and maybe it's just the gratitude for having a little more time every day to really thoughtfully think about how your business is going to come out of this and to put into motion some of the plans to make it happen. So it could be personal, it could be business, it could be anything. But the other thing I want you to do is I want you to think about sharing and showing grace with each other, because I've already started to see one or two comments on, oh my God, another webinar. Oh my God, another course. Like there's so much noise out there. Oh my goodness, I don't know what, this is whatever. And the thing is, you need to leave room that people process things different ways. So if there is too much coming at you, turn it off. Turn it off. Turn your Instagram off, turn your Facebook off, turn the TV off, read a book, do a puzzle, put your processes in place, turn it off. But there's other people that process fear and anxiety and grief by doing. And so you have to leave the grace that everybody is going to handle this differently. And just like you might be the person there to provide a solution for somebody to make a desk in their laundry room, somebody else is going to give some information or news or, anything that somebody else wants. So my thing is that if you want the time to unplug, but understand that not only is everybody's going to do it differently, but ultimately my fear is that this is going to be a big blip, not a little blip. And if you unplug completely, then own it. Own it. And get your financial ducks in a row. Own that you're going to risk your business and lean into whatever it is you're turning to. But don't begrudge others who want to build through it, and don't judge others. And at the same time, for those of you out there that are really just pedal to the metal, if you have a friend, a coworker, an employee, a colleague that is taking this time to just step back and to be quiet, you have to acknowledge it in the other person. It's as simple as that. This is too dramatic an event for it not to be revealed that we all are going to handle things differently. And I am just really, 5 or 10 years ago, we weren't so connected. virtually on the internet. And we are now. So just be kind in your comments and be supportive. And if you have something nice to say, say it. And if you don't, leave it off. All right? Because you don't know what somebody's going through, and you don't know how they're choosing to get through it. Okay? And I know it seems crazy that I'm including that, but I think it's necessary. I do think it's necessary. So, all right, here's the thing, the big sources to get the expert advice on how to pull in, like if you need to work with a marketing firm in order to come up with ideas, if you need to work with a branding firm in order to make that pivot, if you need to work with a web developer in order to put a e-commerce cart on your site, if you need to work with your CPA, if you need to work with a business coach, if you need to just, whatever it is, reach out to those professionals that can help you. Do not hesitate, okay? This is the pep talk to motivate you to look at yourself. What do you need? What can you do? How are you gonna do it? And who are you gonna get to help you do it, all right? Because you can come through it, all right? But it's gonna take intention. It's gonna take some ingenuity on your part, and it's going to take some work, but you can do it. All righty. So I am going to see if Sarah has any questions for me.
Do I have any questions for you? What do you want first? Do you want the big questions, or do you want all the I love LuAnn?
Aww.
It's like we got a good mixture. Okay, let's just go through them. So Pamela says, I just read LuAnn's book, spent the week now with her. So is it weird that I feel like I know you? I can't wait to meet you in person. You're awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you, Pamela.
Ellen says, we're living in the midst of a revolution. How we work, how we shop, how we connect. In less than a month, actually weeks, we've all adapted to massive changes. It is unbelievable what has happened.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Can you, what was the episode number for how to calculate your cash on hand?
442.
442. I've also, okay.
Yep. Yeah. And I imagine that Kimberly is available for, one-off consultations and stuff like that. And both she and Michelle Williams are phenomenal resources in this time for helping you get a handle on your business, on the money part of your business.
Are you ready for a big one?
All right.
I'm not sure if it's Michelle or Michelle. Says, okay, my local receiver delivery is closed due to COVID. I have many goods, a whole house in fact, sitting at my receiver that cannot be delivered to the client. I have paid in full for these items. My contract states the final payment will be due at install. The deposit pays for the cost of goods, but the balance is for me and my business. I would really like to collect payment, but it breaches my contract. Feeling awkward about that. Should I ask for the balance even though they don't physically have it? Tough decision. I'm not sure my client wants to pay if they haven't received the product yet.
So here's my first answer is yes, I would attempt to, I would open the dialogue. And I just did this with WindowWorks, honestly, recently. And I think the conversation is framed depending on your relationship with the client, right? So for instance, when I had to have this conversation recently, it's a client that we have done business with year after year after year. And we have, I just share the details so that you understand the scope of it. It was like a $25,000 window treatment project that 2 Roman shades were left to be installed, but they are the same thing. They're stuck in the workroom that's not open. And so I'm sitting out here with, the $13,000 balance due for 2 Roman shades that equal $550. And so what I just called and I just said, how are you? How's your business going? What's going on? And then I just said, listen, I would love to talk about XYZ, project, and we've installed 3/4 of it, and I'm asking you, the cash flow will make a difference for me now. Can you give me, leave $2,000 off? I'm going to come and install it when we're able to. Could you do that? And so for this case, if the client that you're working with is a good client and you have a good relationship with them, and also too, if you happen to know that maybe their financial situation, see, a lot of people put the money aside for this project. So they're sitting with that money in the bank. They're not like, oh, well, this gives me 2 more weeks to save money for this, massive project that's sitting in the receivership, right? So they're probably sitting with it. They intended on it. They would have taken delivery by now. I think that you can 99% assume that they've got the cash on hand. And so I would probably frame the conversation, whatever is authentic to your relationship, and maybe ask for 3/4 of it. I've got them chasing me. This is an unusual circumstance. You know that I'm good for it. Could you see your way to paying 3/4, and we'll leave the balance for when we ultimately deliver? You have nothing to lose. If they tell you point blank, if I asked for 3/4 and they said no, back and forth, I'd say, how about half? Can we do half? I'm asking you to just understand we're all trying to keep things rolling here. And ultimately, if it was a no, you're no worse off than if you never asked.
Oh, where'd my question go? Oh no. Okay, Art asks, I'm in Panama City, and we're in total lockdown, so getting income is almost impossible. What is your advice when the crisis is over to approach new clients or existing ones, when perhaps people are not thinking about spending on things that are not considered essential?
See, I think the first mistake there, Art, is assuming that people are going to not want to spend and they're going to think that design services are not essential. It's the number one mistake that we make as salespeople in every situation, COVID-19 or not, is that we process I'm going to start to use sales language now to cut through, because I know it's, instead of like it's a little bit more inside voice than outside voice, right? We process the pitch based on what we are thinking and what our circumstances and where we're at. But if you watch the presentation with my cousin Eileen on Tuesday, her brother is in the middle of a redesign project. His industry is not affected. He personally has enough money put aside, and he planned on doing this project. So he's not like, I don't want to finish it. And the thing is, there's people out there that are in their homes now every single day thinking, this room doesn't work for us. You know what? We push through movie night every Friday night with 3 kids and a dog and a husband and a wife, but now every day, this floor plan doesn't work. I want to do this. So don't make an assumption. Please don't make an assumption that people are not going to want to spend. Some people are not going to, and some people aren't going to be capable of it. But I mean, like if you work for Zoom or you own Zoom now, I'm sorry. Right?
Yep, you give great advice. Here's a fun one. Stephanie says, in caps, you are the cool glass of iced tea I needed. Thank you, truly, XOXOXO, Stephanie. Because I really like that one. Like, there's a million of them, so I can't.
That's cute.
So much gratitude. I love LuAnn. Thank you. Your humor, your knowledge, it's exactly what we needed this week. Christine says, love the last few minutes of sharing where's your lesson, showing grace, finding gratitude, and of course, acknowledging that we are all processing things differently. I'd like to echo that as well. That I've heard you speak 1,000 times, but that's something that even hit home for me. Just how people do process things differently. As a business owner, I have many employees and I've got a lot on the line. We're not stopping. I can't, but I have to respect that other people might be processing that differently. And that really hit home for me that we're all remote right now and they might be going through something different that I can't quite understand, and I really should.
No, it's true.
Put that hat on and they might be going through something different.
Well, and you know what's funny is, because I didn't say it during the conversation there, but it is also advice for employees too. You see, employees have to understand and be very cognizant of, there is fear around, will the company survive? There is fear around, will their job survive? And they think that they understand what their owner is going through, but you don't. It's like when your best friend's mom has something really fun happen to her and you're happy for your best friend and her mom, but when it happens for your mom, you're just like, whoa, that's so much better, right? And so you might be afraid for your job. You might be afraid that your principal is going to be able to keep the firm afloat, but your principal is fighting for their life. Because the one part that I find that employees don't often understand is, if the company fails, their job is gone, which is horrible. And quote unquote, my job is quote unquote gone. But every dime that company owes when it fails, that's still my bill. That's still my bill. So this is a time for everybody to be, come see, come saw, with a little bit of like grace.
All right. Robin asks, do you think our industry will add a pandemic clause to our contracts? I don't mean to giggle.
Yeah, no.
Contracts evolve, right? As things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Right. I mean, because if there was a pandemic clause, the other designer that asked, how does she collect her money? It'd be like, pandemic or not, your funds are due if I can if I can get your goods out or not, right? Like I don't know. This is where I say, go ask the experts. Call Jamie at #legal and ask her, right? But there's no question we're going to change business. That the whole thing, everything is going to change.
LuAnn, we could just it's thank you. Ellen says, this is so dope. I feel like I'm having a private business coaching every day. LuAnn has me talking to the screen. Can we do this more often? We need this in the industry to survive and to continue to prosper. Yeah, I think we can probably, I'm trying to scroll there at this point. Again, I'll send, if you're open to it. Now it's your turn. If I can send you, yeah, you can have your goddess do it.
To her.
Her answers are going to be very good. How about you're in our MyDoma Facebook group. Remind me, I'm drawing a blank. Do you have a group?
I do. And it's really, I have not been so, you know me.
So I was going to say, they can continue the conversation over at MyDoma Designers, but if you prefer it somewhere else, that's fine too.
Yeah, I have LuAnn Nigara and friends, and please, please, please join. Honestly, it's one of the pivots in my business now is pay attention to the Facebook group, right?
Say it a little slower. LuAnn Nigara and friends,
right? But I'm happy for you to do it in the MyDoma Facebook group too. I mean, all day long,
It's where you want to answer them.
Yeah, I don't care. Tag me wherever the heck it is, and I'll do my best.
Good. She's everywhere. She'll find it.
I'll do my best.
LuAnn?
I will just tell you this. This is what I tell everybody. No answer is not no. No answer is, LuAnn just didn't see it yet. You know what I mean? I think we'll go into LinkedIn about once every 3 weeks. There'll be like 90 messages. And I'll be like, oh my goodness. I didn't know people were talking to me here. So
you and me both. Yeah. So I just want to extend a huge thank you to everybody who helped us put this together, from all of our speakers, our panelists, our partners, LuAnn Nigara, and don't forget the team at MyDoma Studio who worked burning the midnight oil getting this thing done.
Amazing what you did.
We had 4,400 people sign up for this. I'm overwhelming. It's overwhelming support, and I'm so happy to have brought this to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Oh my God.
You're welcome. I mean, it takes a village. So next up is a wind down. So if you aren't sick of hearing us, we do them anyways when we go to industry events. We can't end off without that.
Right?
So
How can
at
we not?
5 o'clock Eastern, it's gonna be a little crazy. All panelists and speakers are invited on. I think there are 26 or 27 panelists. I don't know how this is going to go, but we do invite you to come and join us and bring a beverage if you'd like, a snack. We're going to be talking, having some just a great chat, and we'll see where it goes from there. So we'll see you in just under an hour if you're free to join us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.